Hi, friends, and welcome back to Living Simple and Well. We are so excited today because we are actually with Kristen Collins. She is a nutrition coach, and I had the pleasure of connecting with her probably a few weeks ago at this point now and
Mhm.
having a conversation on her podcast last week. And we just had such a great conversation that I knew I needed to bring her to your ears here on Living Simple and Well. So, I am going to let Kristen tell you all about herself and why she's passionate about helping women. And we are going to just have such a great conversation. I'm so excited you're here today, Kristen.
I am so happy to be here. It's so great to talk with you again, Allison. Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
of course.
So, my name's Kristin Collins. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm the founder of Game on Nutrition, which is a program I developed to help midlife women who feel like they've been sidelined by midlife kind of get back in the game. And for me, what I found through my personal experience is that nutrition is the foundation of how we feel. And I know sometimes you hear that and you're, oh my God, we're going to talk about food again. And I'm like, yes, we're going to talk about food
Mhm.
because I think women, especially my age, I'm 54. I've only ever been taught to diet. No one ever
Mhm.
taught me how to eat and how to eat enough and the right balance of foods. Because I'm not someone who thinks there's good foods and bad foods, but how all foods can be used to help you feel your best in life. And we have to stop thinking of them in such a negative or a restrictive or a
Mhm.
judgmental way in order for us to be the powerful, fully energized women that we are.
I so agree with that. And as you know from our last conversation, resonate
Yeah.
with that because I've shared it a lot here on the podcast, but I have been on such a whirlwind of a wellness journey myself,
Hmm.
really just throwing anything at the wall and hoping that it stuck, right? Being on
Right.
protocols and different diet plans and counting macros and being so strict and feeling like there was so like if I wasn't following everything by the book, I wasn't going to find success. And when I did plateau, during like my weight loss journey, finding something to blame rather than just leaning into, well, maybe the stress of everything that I'm trying to do could be a big factor. So, walk
Right.
me through how you kind of work through removing the stigma of diet culture and how you focus on nourishment as a whole body system here for women.
Oh, that's a great question. First, there's no one way to do this. I love that you said you've been on like protocols, and I think some people assign you have to hit this much protein, this much,
Hmm.
and everything. And while we talk about in my program, we do talk about macros, it comes from a purely data driven, like let's think education, just let's learn what we're putting in our body. So the first thing I do, and if I'm gonna take you through like the all in approach. Like if you're gonna be like, I'm gonna go all in, and I say to every woman, if this is overwhelming, which food should never be for you, we will walk it back and we will personalize it for you.
Hmm.
And while I talk about being like this all in approach at first, I don't expect you to live the rest of your life for it like this. Like, this is so
Sure.
we learn eventually how much we can eat. And yeah, I said how much because I think a lot of us come in eating too little because we've been taught about diet. Less is
Yeah.
better, less is better. Right. So for the first 2 weeks, I ask you that you at least eat 3 meals a day. And if you're going all in, I'm like, I want you to record what you're eating.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just this, no judgment, everything. If you have a box of cookies, tell me you ate a box of cookies. Like
Yeah.
if you get McDonald's on Wednesday because you're going crazy from like school drop off or from work to school or kids sports or something, then that's your life and we're going to work with your life rather against it. So I do have women, we kind of like track and monitor, but not in, and this is where like a lot of mindset work comes in.
Mm.
We just want the data. Where are
Yeah.
you starting from?
You
Because a
need a
lot of women
baseline.
immediately, what's your baseline?
Yeah.
What's your normal? Maybe you're eating too little carbs. Like, that's what I'm finding a lot of women now. It's funny. We've nailed the protein because I think we've been hit over the head with the
Over and over
protein.
again, right.
So now I have women and they're like, I was exhausted. I'm like, well, what did you have for breakfast? And like, well, I had yogurt and like breakfast sausage. And I'm like, that's great. What carbs did you have?
Mhm.
They're like, well, huh? You know what I
And
mean?
it's
And
funny
like,
because I feel like carbs have almost been demonized as, like, a fast
so
track to
much.
gaining weight, right?
Right. And we have to remember carbs are vegetables. Like
Mhm.
carbs are beans. Carbs are like, there's nothing wrong. I joke that like the potato has been demonized. Like I had
Mm,
someone ask me if bananas were okay. I'm like, yes, a
yeah.
banana's okay. Like
Yeah.
these are not the foods we're really worried about. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but they have been, and we're so scared that we're not eating stuff that's really going to help us. And like I said, also, like, no foods are good or bad. Like, if you like mac and cheese, we can make it work for you.
Yes.
There's room in your life for all the food. I had a guest on my podcast the other day that said the best thing, the only foods I don't eat, and this is what I subscribe to, are the ones I don't like
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that make my body feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And even sometimes it's like, well, maybe if you feel nauseous after eating a banana, then I'm not going to make you eat a banana. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
or eggs or something. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the only reason why you would want to avoid something. Yeah.
Agreed. So
Yeah.
walk me through
Yeah.
your philosophy of
Yeah.
nourishment being kind of the foundation of everything and how that there's different areas of your life that are all affected by that.
100%. So the one thing I think a lot of us forget is that, we've been taught to monitor calories and restrict calories. And a calorie is literally a unit of energy. When you start looking at it like that, what you put in your body, if you think of it as an energy intake, that's where we get our energy. We get it from food. So
Mm-hmm.
when we nourish our stuff, when we use, mostly, and I don't want to even say like, I'm going to say whole foods because we know
Mm-hmm.
like vegetables, lean
Yeah.
proteins. But I'm saying like if it's frozen, that's a processed food. That's great. Like let's go with that. But if we're filling our plates with a quarter protein, half of it's veggies, a quarter of it's a starchy carb, like a rice, a legume, a potato, and
Mm-hmm.
then a little bit of healthy fat, you're giving your body enough energy that you're going to be thinking better. Your mood's going to be better. Your sleep is going to be, you will not
Mm.
believe how much sleep improves when you are well fed
I love that.
versus restricting. And sleep is such a big issue for a lot of women in general.
Mm-hmm.
And your digestion will improve. Like if you're talking to me that you're not going to the bathroom in a consistent manner, we got to look about what you're eating. And a lot of that comes from fiber, which comes from carbs. And when we demonize carbs, a lot of women have cut fiber out of their body. And now we're dealing with a whole nother set of issues.
Right.
It connects to everything. It's if you're building your house, think of your nutrition as your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not strong, no matter what else you do, isn't going to be sustainable in the long time if you're dragging your butt around by 3 o'clock every day because you're under eating.
And one thing that you said that I want to kind of circle back to is the
Yeah.
sleep aspect, right? Because I really have a huge philosophy on kind of reverse engineering your days by having a solid wind down routine in the evenings. And part of that comes from finishing up eating earlier than later so that
Mm-hmm.
you have time to digest, having something like, a peppermint tea or, something that like kind of triggers your body that you're getting into that rest and digest state, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so walk me through why I feel like women, it's so common to say like I'm not sleeping well or I don't have time to, fulfill the need of, that wind down routine, right? That gets you into that proper state to sleep well. So walk me through how a woman could potentially use nourishment to guide her into better sleep as well.
One of the reasons we wake up at 2:30, 3 in the morning is because we're hungry. We may,
Mm.
we may think we have to go to the bathroom, and that is a valid thing for women of
Mhm.
my age. But also, we're hungry, and our cortisol in our body goes, "Hey, let's wake up, feed me." I
Mm.
think it's morning and we're not quite there yet. When you eat enough, you able to sleep through the night. I think also you brought up a great thing, eating early, finish eating earlier,
Yeah.
within a couple, at least 2, if not 3 hours before you go to bed. And if that doesn't work, then maybe we add a very tiny snack,
Hmm.
like say 2 hours before bed, that helps keep you sated. And by tiny, I'm talking like 200 calories, which would be like, maybe like we want a protein and a carb and or protein and a fat, and
Yeah.
like, and make it like a little tiny thing,
Hmm.
not a full meal. But you're right, it's because our digestion takes up a lot of energy. Our digestion burns calories almost as more, not almost, it burns calories more than our workouts does.
Mm.
So it's busy. We want it to rest. Having a routine, like you said, is phenomenal, and we need more sleep than we think.
Mm.
you know we have to be honest, women carry the mental load for
Big
so
time.
much. I'm not throwing shade at men. They have their own stuff, but like I'm sure at night, like we have to learn to put ourselves on our priority list, and
Yeah.
sleep is a huge part of that. I know I personally have started going to bed like an old lady, like by 9 o'clock most nights.
Oh,
So I can definitely get 7.5 to 8 hours. And it's been a game changer. Sleep is your master metabolic regulator. A
mhm.
lot of women come to me and they want to talk. They're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. And first of all, I always say, we're not losing any, like, we're not there yet. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
And even before we go to look, and I talked about like, we take a look at nutrition, we figure out their baseline, we figure out what they're eating, how they're eating. I teach them how to build a balanced plate. But sometimes we even, with a couple clients I went to, first we're going to do sleep.
Mhm.
So for the first 2 weeks, we're not even talking, like, we're going to talk generally about food,
Yeah.
but you're going to bed at this time. You're going to turn your phone off at this time. We're going to de-screen, like you said, have a cup of tea,
Mhm.
read a book, take a warm bath, whatever you need to take, get the hamster wheel to slow down so you can get the rest you need.
And I think for women, we are just natural nurturers, right? So we
Mhm.
take on inherently more than men do. And
Mhm.
as a result of that, our mental load is greater. So I feel like it's regardless of if you're a mother yet or you're, an oldest daughter or, whatever position you're in your life. I think women in general just have more trouble winding down and need to be more intentional about taking care of themselves overall.
Mhm.
And I love your approach to the rituals of somebody's day before the weight loss because, I've talked about this a lot on here, but I have lost 100 pounds twice. The first time I got very stuck after doing all of the right things, right? Counting the macros, doing the
Mhm.
workout plans and staying on par. I then gained weight back, and then I've now lost over 144 pounds at this point again. But the difference is I plateaued again at 100 pounds. It's almost like physically my body knew where to go, but
Yeah.
the shift that came after the fact was I started prioritizing myself and putting rituals in place that allowed me the mental mindset shift of losing weight, but not like the weight loss came almost as a caveat to all of
Yeah.
the time I was putting into myself. And I know that's something that you're a big believer in. Talk to me about
Yes.
some gentle, like practical shifts that you feel like women can make almost easily that they can start to almost habit stack and build into
Mhm.
their day so that it doesn't feel like they're having to overhaul their life all at once in order to find their goal.
Yeah. I the giant overhaul that we do many times in our lives, usually on January 1st
Mm,
or first day of summer, where we
right.
go, I'm gonna go to the gym 5 days a
Yep.
week, and I'm gonna only have salad for lunch, and I'm gonna, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not, it's over. I mean, it just made me exhausted just talking about it. It's not sustainable.
Right.
And when you want to do, especially what you're doing, you're making a lifetime change.
Yeah.
You're not looking for that. Yeah. You want to, and then you want to maintain,
Exactly.
right? And slow. And what you're talking about when you plateaued, our bodies need a break from a deficit. And I'm going to use deficit instead of diet because we're all might possibly do a deficit, which to me is a controlled, it's planned. And at some point we leave for a little bit and we learn to maintain our lives in what we've done. And by
Mhm.
you taking care of yourself, you're learning how to maintain that. And
Exactly.
it's a life shift. It's not just something I'm going to do for 30 days all in and then go back to what I was doing before. So slow and steady, easy things. I'm a big fan of a big glass of water first thing in the morning. And
Mm.
it's not because of all the like, don't have coffee on an empty stomach and all this
Mhm.
stuff. It's because like we don't drink enough water. And if you like chug a glass first thing in the morning, you're already 20 ounces ahead. You know what
Right.
I mean? It just
Yeah.
makes your like, because life gets busy. And if we don't make time to drink, it's hard. It's hard.
Agreed.
Um, Little walks. Walking is
Mm.
so underrated. We think we have to go do like the crazy gym class or I mean, I'm a big strength training fan, like, but walking, like that was a mistake that I learned the hard way. I'm working out, I'm eating well, and I'm still like, for me, it was the perimenopausal body contents are shifting mid-flight. And I had to get honest and look at myself. I'm like, I'm not moving
Yeah.
outside of when I work out. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here at my desk, doing stuff. A walk is great. And if you can't do a 30-minute walk, do it 5-minute walk a couple times a day.
There's some days where I walk for 10 minutes 3 times a day to get into my
Yes.
target goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to be intentional. I also got a
Right.
walking pad for under my desk. If I need to edit a podcast episode or get emails done,
Yeah.
I'm at least moving, right? And so it's
Yeah.
all about infusing that intentional time into
100%.
yourself.
Right. Park at the back of the shopping lot. Like, make yourself walk the whole
Yeah.
day. We've heard these things. Take the stairs. We've heard them forever because they work. That's
Mhm.
never going to go away. So, like, walking is a great thing. Um, when it comes to food, like, let's like go back to carbs. Like, if you're not a fruit and vegetable person, like, I hear you. I was a picky eater as a kid. Pick one you like, pick one meal, make sure there's a fruit or vegetable on your plate. And do that until it becomes so natural, then add a second meal. Like, we don't have to go like
Yeah.
heavy fruits and vegetables every day. Add a second meal. The same with protein. A lot of women sometimes struggle with protein, though we've gotten so much better with it just because we've been like, that marketing has really done its job
Yeah.
by the protein companies. But, seriously, adding a little bit more. Most women, like 30 grams is like the sweet spot a day. And if you're new to protein, that's a lot of protein at once. So if
Mhm.
you're eating one egg, eat two until that feels good. And then maybe you add some egg whites or some like chicken sausage on the side. Or like at dinner, if you're having like 2 ounces of chicken, go to 3
Right.
until 3 becomes normal. And we
It's like
just
those
go
micro
slowly.
Yeah, like those micro habits that you're like infusing into each day. I love the way that you said that, where you're
Yeah.
just increasing a little bit of what you're already doing because then it's not overwhelming.
No, and it shouldn't be. I have like one of my taglines. I love like simply and well, like healthy shouldn't be hard. Yes,
Mm,
there are challenges. Yes, making lifestyle challenges can feel, and this is why we go slow, but like the things we're doing, the things that really work are easier than we're reaching for the easy button and buying all the magics being sold. But
mhm,
when it comes down to it, when things are going to stick, it is go to bed half hour earlier,
mhm.
drink another glass of water. You know what I mean? Like, just have some vegetables, have more protein, just like these tiny shifts. And before you know it, that's your life. It's not a
Yeah,
diet. It's not a program.
right.
This is how I live.
And it's all going to compound into itself.
Oh,
And one of the things that I love is when you do this in this micro way, you give yourself the ability to stack these rituals onto each
mhm.
other. And before you know it, you're really investing a good chunk of time intermittently throughout your day into yourself. But it's so woven into your day that it doesn't feel like you're spending so much time prioritizing yourself. Because I think as women too, we struggle with the idea of prioritizing ourselves, that we deal with
Yeah.
a lot of shame or guilt around, taking 30 minutes out of our day for a walk or a workout, or making a nourishing, lunch because we stepped away from our desk for too long. I think that we have found ways to almost demonize taking care of
Yeah.
ourselves because there's an expectation that we should be at the helm, putting everybody else first. So, walk me through kind of with working with women, how you've been able to kind of break through that barrier of, okay, obviously they've already taken the first step by working with you, that they want to make a
Yeah.
change in their life. So they've acknowledged that something isn't working, but walk me through how you help them make things stick and break through the stigma of like the guilt and the shame that can come from prioritizing yourself.
We talk a lot. We talk a lot. We share our stories is I
Mhm.
think is the best one of the best ways. We find out um like no woman so far has come to me with some like they all tend to struggle with the same thing during the same week. It feels like, and it's usually around, I didn't have time to eat lunch today
Mm,
because I was racing from meeting to meeting or childcare or something like that, and it feels bad to sit down and eat.
right.
Um, It takes time. I'm not gonna lie, that's the hardest part. Like, I had a client that joked that my first 12 weeks, she goes, "You should name it something about, like, emotions and mindset because you've taught me so much, like, I deserve to eat lunch," you know? Um, I usually one thing I ask them, I go, "Would you tell your child not to eat lunch because they don't deserve to because 'cause they're so busy?" You know, like, "'Cause school's so
Right.
important, you should do more work at school and not take time for lunch," and you're like, "No." You know, would you tell your friend who struggles every day, like at 4 o'clock and is exhausted to like get through the rest of the night with their little ones, not to eat earlier in the day? Or would you tell them, because you identify that they need more energy and they're like, well, no, I would never say that.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. So it's a lot of talking. There is no, I wish I had an easy answer for that,
Hmm.
but there isn't because we've been programmed for such a long time. We're the helpers,
Yeah.
and especially, and it feels, and if, like you said, it feels guilty. You feel guilt
Yeah.
that
No,
you
I.
don't deserve this. And one thing I've started saying to myself, as I started strength training more, my body's gotten a little bigger because of muscles and in a way that I know supports my life and my
Mhm.
longevity. Yet I still have to fight against the scale isn't what it was when I was 22. I'm
Mm.
54. Like, it shouldn't be.
Right.
But I
Right.
started saying to myself little mantras like, I deserve to take up space.
I love
And I
that.
have to say it a lot.
Yeah.
I deserve to take up space.
And I
I
think
deserve to
talking,
eat.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think talking through it, like you're saying, there isn't one specific thing, but I think you actually hit the nail on the head there because
Yeah.
I think talking through it and acknowledging it,
Yeah.
acknowledging that we do feel guilty or we do feel shame around putting time into ourselves is the only way that we're going to be able to break through the stigma that is automatically assigned to women
Hmm.
to not prioritize themselves. Because at the end of the day, we are, in my humble opinion, the most important creature on this earth because we are reproducing the next generation. And I think the only strong way to do that is to not only lead by example for future women in our generations, right? That we are, putting ourselves first. I mean, I see my daughter, she's 7, and I, watch her. She has a skincare routine with me that she loves because she sees me doing it every day and she loves to work out with me and loves
Yeah.
going on walks in the neighborhood. And these are all things that I am doing because I've built that into my regular routine in my normal life and talking about food choices. You know what I mean? When
Hmm.
she wants to build a plate and now have the autonomy to pick her meals and pack her lunchbox. And I'm explaining why we always have a protein and we always have a fruit and then their little treat. And because I've normalized that kind of conversation in our home, it becomes fun for her and second nature. And I don't think
Yeah.
that it's looked at like diet culture. I think now it just looks like this is how we fuel our bodies and this is how we, I mean, she's a gymnast, she's a dancer, so she knows that she eats a banana before she goes to gymnastics, right? Because
Yeah.
these are all things that we've talked about over the years where she knows that this is how she's fueling her body and taking care of herself in order to stay strong and be active and healthy and happy. And so I think we do such a good job at wanting to raise the next generation in a way with our words. But I also think that if we look at how we invest in ourselves and the time we put in ourselves as an example that we're setting for them, I think too that it would help remove some of that guilt and shame that women have, especially moms, of, investing in their health and wellness.
Oh, 100%. We have to learn that self-care is not selfish. There's a
Exactly.
difference. Just because the word self is in both of them,
Hmm.
it's not the same thing. And I think there's some fact or like you become who you surround yourself with. You know what I mean? Like the
Hmm.
5 people closest to you. So like for your daughter, she sees you being active and working out and using food as nourishment and also for enjoyment and community. And you have family dinners and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And then that just natural to her.
Yeah.
She's not thinking of, oh, I can't have that, or she never hears mom say, oh, I don't have a cookie. Cookies are bad.
Right.
And then it becomes that shame spiral. Cookies are energy like anything else. Will they last as long as something more nutritionally dense? No. but they're really tasty. And sometimes we should have a cookie because life is short
Mhm.
and we
And
need
it's funny
enjoyment.
because, like, there are things that she'll try, and I mean, we are an ingredient conscious household, and
Yeah.
there I make a lot of her what she eats from scratch, but I include her in the process of making that, and I
Yeah.
think that that's shifted her perspective of the bag of little mini muffins, right? That I talked to her through, like, look at this mini muffin tin that I got from the store. We can now make our own chocolate chip mini muffins and then put them in a cute, princess bag,
Yeah.
and you can take them to, right. And so I think it's a matter of not necessarily demonizing the store bought foods, but reprogramming her to say, how fun would it be to make that ourselves?
Yeah.
And all the while, we're choosing the ingredients, and I'm going through and explaining why each thing inside of this muffin recipe is going to fuel her body, the applesauce and, the oats and all that kind of
Hmm.
good stuff. And so I think it's a matter of perspective. And I think if we're so willing to want that for our future generations as moms, I think that we need to be willing to do it for ourselves as well.
You're 100% right. It's yeah, we can't, and that's also a way of kind of unbrainwashing ourselves, right? Just
Hmm.
what you said. Like, would you wish that on your
Right.
daughter or your granddaughter? And I think everyone would go, no.
Exactly.
And then you're like, well, then don't do it to yourself.
Exactly.
And then just pushing sometimes we got to push through that discomfort, and then once you do and you realize how much better you feel,
Yeah.
how much more present you are for your family or for your work or for your whatever extracurricular stuff you have going on, you realize, oh no, it's made me a stronger person
Yep.
overall. It's not taken away time for me, it's given me more back, actually.
100%. I think that you've nailed it. I think that what we do on a repetitive, consistent basis becomes our new baseline.
Yeah.
And the more that we integrate whole body healing, mental, physical, spiritual, all of that matters.
Yes.
Whether it's warm lemon water in the morning with your journal might not look like nourishment from a plated food perspective, but you are nourishing your mind, body, and spirit by giving yourself that 15 minutes of calm to really kickstart your day and put you in the headspace to deal with whatever comes from the kids and the transportation and the school lines and all that fun stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a matter of looking at each individual thing, at how can I add 5 or 10 minutes onto this part of my day for myself, and taking those little micro habits and weaving them into your day before you know it, they're going to be your day. They're going to be just
Yeah.
ingrained in your routine. And like I said, you're not even going to realize how that's compounded until you start to feel the ease of the weight lifted off of you on a regular basis.
You're so right.
I love it. Okay, Kristen, I absolutely love this conversation. I
Yeah.
have some rapid fire questions for you that I want to hit
Okay.
you with. So, the first of which is a simple meal that you love
Oh,
right now that can inspire our listeners to create something quick but nourishing.
all right. Okay, this is most my lunch most days. Um, Minute rice, literally the little packets, the
Hmm.
cup, if you have no time, minute in the microwave, cup of rice. I usually put some sort of meat, either I've brown like chicken, like ground chicken or ground turkey
Mm,
with seasoning, definitely season. We don't want to eat plain food.
no.
Taste it healthy does not have to be bland. It should be
Hmm.
delicious and amazing. Spices count for nothing, for
Hmm.
those of us who came out of a point system thing, but
Yeah.
like make it tasty, right? You
Hmm.
know, like um I usually throw some vegetables in there, whether it's like onions or a little bit broccoli. The air fryer has been my friend for making
Love the air
vegetables
fryer.
crispy as
Hmm.
well. I've been air frying a lot of vegetables lately. And then like sometimes if I want Asian, I'll put a little like soy sauce or
Mm,
on it, just like a splash, and then it's ready in a couple minutes. Double cook at dinner and use whatever leftover protein you have for lunch the next day, so you're
mm.
not cooking at noon. Like, I'm home and I can throw a pan on the
Yeah.
stove and it's not a big deal, but I get it a lot. And earlier in my life I could not have done this when the kids were still home
Hmm.
or I was working at a full-time job, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, it should be quick. It's more assembly than
Yeah.
cooking. Yeah.
That's a big thing, and we're big meal preppers over here.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love any type of ground meat where you can throw together and
Yeah.
make it like versatile, like a burger bowl or a taco bowl or something like you said. I
Ground
mean,
ground
imagine a
meat
taco
saves you
bowl,
so much time. Oh,
literally.
a taco bowl,
Literally,
you know,
because
like
you've got the
yeah.
avocado, the tomato, the olives, the lettuce. I mean, you've got everything in there, right?
Right.
It's
Even if
it's
you're making like a
fantastic.
bag salad, I've done bag salad and then throw the ground meat in too as well. You know, just make life easier for yourself.
So fun. And you know what? Taylor Farms just came out with high protein salad kits.
Oh,
They're
really?
like the dressing. I just had the Green Goddess one this afternoon. And if you eat the whole bag, it's like 21 grams
Yeah,
of protein. But of course, that's a lot of lettuce. But
that
the
is.
serving is like, it's like 3 servings. And if you eat the serving,
Yeah.
you get 7 grams of protein from the salad alone. And then throw whatever protein, if you're
Yeah.
prepping chicken or whatever. And it's like top notch. And it's got like the great veggies in there and some crunch and all the goodness. I love my homemade ranch dressing. And so a lot of times what I'll do is just buy like the butter lettuce, and I'll do like pecans and tomato and cucumber and carrots and all kinds of
Yeah.
good stuff. But I chop everything ahead of time so that I'm literally, like you said, just assembling each
Right.
day. And it's like I said, I work from home also, but it's a game changer still for somebody that's busy. And it forces me to get up from my desk and go prep that. And then, you know what I mean? Even if I'm coming back here, I also love filling a small glass of water so that I'm constantly standing to refill that throughout the day. So if you need a little hack for work from home life, that has been one of my recent
That's brilliant.
changes rather
We're
than
so
filling
used
a
to
big
the
water bottle.
yeah.
Big
And
time.
then forgetting to drink it, and all of a sudden you
Yes.
realize you have 32 ounces to crush. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm sitting here with like a 40 ouncer next to me, and I have been carrying it around my house, but I've also drank three of the like 16 or what 12-ounce little glasses that are at my desk too. But I'm like, well, if I put my electrolytes in this big jug, surely I'll take it everywhere with me. And I do usually finish it by the end of the day. But if I'm only relying on that, I've gotten 40 ounces throughout the whole day. Whereas if I'm
Right.
habit stacking and pounding, you know, 10, 12-ounce glasses of water, then I've gotten my surplus of 100 ounces,
Right.
right? Fun, fun. Okay. Next rapid fire question here. One habit that makes you feel most nourished.
Breakfast.
Mm,
I eat a big breakfast. I'll be honest.
I love a
I
good
used
breakfast.
to kind of do small breakfast, normal lunch, or you know, and then dinner was my big meal.
Hmm.
I've kind of flipped it because I play tennis, I work out, I'm pretty active, and
Yeah.
I have found that eating a bigger breakfast helps me throughout the day. I feel so good. I rarely crash in the afternoon. I'm rarely ever like that hungry starving like I need
Yeah.
to eat now. Um that's been a game changer for me.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Your non negotiable self care practice.
I'm trying to think like what one thing you'd have to pry out of my cold dead hands. You know, I think moving. Like if I don't move, um, in any way, like yesterday even, I was tired, but I knew walking. You know,
Hmm.
I actually because it was freezing cold. I'm in Chicago. It
Mm,
was gross rain. I literally
that's us
had
today.
like it. I lost the remote to my walking pad. I don't know where it is. I don't know how I lost it. But I literally stood in front of the TV watching the Miami Open tennis tournament and just kind of like marched in place a little
I
bit.
have done that so many times. Circled my
It's
living
movement
room.
because the day if I go for a while without something, whether it is a workout or walking or playing tennis, I emotionally don't feel as good. I
I
think it's an
completely agree.
antidepressant, you know, and
Completely agree.
I really need that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, same. I think that it's funny. There's like so much online about like, you know, workouts and movement being more like for mental than physical. And
Hmm.
I think so many people who don't work out don't believe that because they lack the motivation to work out until they actually get started. But when
Yeah.
there is consistent movement in your routine and your body starts to become adjusted to that, I think it almost craves it. I think it's like
Yeah.
we feel great because we are in motion, right? And it's funny as somebody, well, I say funny, but it's ironic as somebody with high functioning anxiety. I have seen this, like, I think I've even remade it on my own Instagram, like this reel going around where it says like anxiety can't hit a moving target, so move your body, bitch. And it's like for real though, because
Right.
you mentally, like if you're moving, you're focusing on moving and you're not giving yourself time to dwell. And as a chronic overthinker and somebody that really like dwells, it's
Hmm.
I love my mental health walks is literally what I call them. And I will, like I said, sometimes do 3 10-minute ones a day because that actually is better for me than walking for 30 minutes, you know, or I'll put something
Yeah.
like an inspiring podcast on or something. And so I think that's such a great non-negotiable because sometimes we look at our non-negotiables as something that we do every week, but I think if you're doing it every day and it's ingrained even in for a very small amount of time in each day, it's still becoming you're compounding those habits
Yeah.
and you're becoming
Everything
dependent
adds
on
on to, yeah, it doesn't, nothing negates, you think I'll be too tired. I'm too tired to go for a walk. You'll actually have more energy if you go for a
it.
walk.
Exactly.
Just do it, just start it and
Agreed.
you'll keep
Okay.
going.
Last one I have here for you.
Yeah.
I would like to know a belief about women's health that you wish would just disappear.
I got to say like this, oh my God, there's like a million of them, but most of it is that smaller is better.
Mm,
I think that, once again, like the skinny talk is coming up. It's going to bite us
mhm.
all in the ass, even if you've talked away your whole ass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for language, but like, smaller is not, I think our healthiest bodies are not often our smallest bodies, even though
Mhm.
that's what we've been taught.
Mhm.
Um, or that's what the media and images and all this stuff shows us. I want that to go away. I want women to, instead of always chasing weight loss, start chasing strength.
Mm.
Strength, like, you know what I mean? Um, they're not the same,
Yeah.
and you could still go for, I know you're on a journey. And like I
Yeah.
said, the thing that I teach my clients a lot, fat loss is not necessarily weight loss. There's
Mhm.
two different things. You're building lean muscle with your workouts while you are still like in a deficit
Yeah.
and have progress. But it's a different thing than just get me as small as possible at whatever cost,
Yep. And I think that I would 100% agree with that because I think that I spent so many years thinking that I needed to be on a weight loss journey. And it wasn't until I actually acknowledged that I am now on a wellness journey where I'm focusing on whole body wellness, not just the physical scale, the numbers. I let go of, the pounds and the ounces, right? I started focusing on nourishment from within. And that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just physical, it was mental, it was
No.
spiritual, it was all encompassing. And honestly, I can tell you that I've talked about using tools like the GLP-1 and things like that that have
Yeah.
helped me break through plateaus. And those are all great metabolic resources that my body physically needed. But what it also has done for me has
Mm-hmm.
given me the perspective of if I'm going to do this for myself, if I'm going to, take a needle every single week, I committed to changing the way I'm living, not just losing weight. And am I losing weight as a result of that? Yes, but I am
Mm-hmm.
losing weight as a result of that. I'm not losing weight because I am being neurotic about everything that I'm doing and everything is tied to the scale. I'm losing weight because I'm actually no longer stressing about the weight loss itself. I am now living in an alignment with the way that I feel. And I've lost a great amount of weight, yes, but I feel amazing. Even though
Mm-hmm.
I have like 100 more pounds that I'd like to lose, I know that I feel so different now than I did 144 pounds ago. And it's incredible to me that there are women who won't feel their best until they've met their goal when I feel like missing the point. They're missing the point that
Well,
they're not creating sustainable change because they're not
yeah.
happy with what they're doing while they're doing it.
Right. And the goal, like the weight loss, if just weight loss and not wellness is your end goal, you're still not going to be happy with what's going on. Or if what you've done is so restrictive
Mhm.
that it's not sustainable. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything, like you've said in the past, like everything bounced right back.
Yep.
And I can't even imagine what that does to your, not just your physical body, but like your mental, and emotional health too. And I
Yeah.
think this, right now we see a lot of marketing preying on fear and insecurity,
Mhm.
you know? Um, and I like that to stop. Like instead of telling women GLP-1s, like for people who need it and can use
Yeah.
it, here's a tool
Right.
and it comes with this like, but we're also going to do this because I unfortunately know some women who aren't doing the route you're doing.
Mhm.
They're just using it, and it's more, in my opinion, for these women, like a vanity weight loss
Mhm.
situation. And it's scary. Like
Well,
I worry about their,
yeah.
I just see like a frame walking by me now, and I'm like, oh,
Well, it's interesting
my
too because
heart.
you hear these horror stories of,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, it took me a year and a half to decide to start a GLP-1. I was plateaued for 18 months before I
Yeah.
finally made the leap when I talked to my doctor about how metabolically that it could help me. But I took that long because there was such a stigma around GLP-1s in general.
And
And there was so much backlash to, well, you'll take it and you'll lose, 100 pounds, but then you'll gain it all back once you stop. And as somebody who knew that I wanted to expand our family, obviously you can't be on a GLP-1 and be, pregnant or even trying to conceive at the time. And so I was so hell bent on just doing it myself because
mhm.
I I thought that there was no other way based on all of the negativity. But knowing what I know now, I
Yeah.
wish I would have started sooner because I wish that I would have stopped letting so many outside opinions. Because, but you know what? At the
Yeah.
same time, I was mentally ready when I started.
Yeah.
I had great habits around food and movement before I started the GLP-1, but we talked about this on your episode. I only really started 6 months ago, plugging into myself, pouring into myself, and
Mhm.
putting myself first. And so I believe that so much of my success on the GLP-1 has come from the whole body approach to wellness that I've taken and not just the fact that I've, lessened how much food I'm eating because I've reduced the food noise or, have this tool now that is getting my thyroid in shape. You know what I mean?
Right. No, and like as you're talking to, I'm also getting like on the flip side of things, there's women like you, and I have a client very similar to you that were hesitant to start it for the longest time
Mhm.
because there's all this noise of people who shouldn't be talking about what they're talking about, right?
Mhm.
There's the misuse of it, there's the mismarketing of it, and then there's all the judgment, and like that you have to do health
Yeah.
this one way.
Yeah.
So it hurt people, or delayed, you're
Yeah.
in it now, like delayed good things for you. It
Mhm.
delayed good things for my other client who, like you, was like, no, no, no. And finally talking, and I'm like, I think this is your missing link. You're doing
Mhm.
all the things. Your nutrition's dialed in. You're moving. She still needs to work on sleep a little bit. But
Yeah.
but like maybe this is what we're missing. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's needed and it's a good thing, but we have all this noise because so many people are marketing it. Like
Yep.
I got an email today. Here's your GLP-1 to lose 30. And I'm like, this should not be going to me. You know
No.
what I mean? Like, because even with all my knowledge and experience, the marketing is so pervasive. Sometimes I've had a moment of like, do I need one? Just for, I'm like, oh, no, no. Like
Right. And this
you know
is
what I mean? Like to fight some metabolic thing that I don't know about yet, you know?
exactly. And it's like so many people are like, I literally knew somebody who, in my opinion, looked great before the GLP-1,
Mhm.
and they wanted to lose 20 pounds because they were in a wedding. And I'm like, "Uh, what?
See, that's,
This is not what this is for." And it's like, this is where I think the misconception comes in,
oh,
and
yeah.
people are just quite literally floundering, and they're thinking that it's being looked at as a quick fix. But that
Yeah.
person that lost 20 pounds before that wedding is going to gain the 20 pounds back shortly
Yeah.
after said wedding when they
Cause,
decide they don't want to pay for it anymore. And this is where I think
right.
we're in this vicious cycle of GLP-1s
Right.
don't work. Well, no, they do if you use them
They
correctly.
They do. And like they help you go into a calorie deficit. And that's how we lose weight when we're in a deficit. And
Hmm.
one of the things that like I help women with, because after we do maintenance, which my initial 12 weeks where I say we're not at weight, we're not losing any weight. If
Hmm.
that scale goes down, I'm going to have you eat a little bit more food. And
Yeah.
people get all freaked out. I go, because our goal is when you do a deficit, which is a stress on your body, which is hard. It's hard for everyone, and it's
Hmm.
harder the older we get, especially harder for women. I want you eating as much good nourishing food as possible so we can see the progress you want if you want to lose a little body fat, but all those biomarkers that we've talked about, your sleep, your skin, your hair, your digestion, your emotional, your mood,
Hmm.
all remain supported. you know, that it's not just always about, like you said, I got to drop 20 pounds before summer or a wedding. Like that's not your health. And
Yeah.
that's undoing that diet nonsense that we've been taught that we are only valuable when we look a certain way. And
Hmm.
that's entirely nonsense. Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, Kristen, I
Yeah.
want to know where people can find you. Everybody wants to know at
Yes.
this point. I'm positive of that. Where we can find you, who you work with, how we can get in touch. So lay it all out there and we will put it in the show notes as well.
There's a couple places. One, I have a website, KristinCollinsHealthCoaching.com. And Kristen is with two I's. There's no E in there. So KristinCollinsHealthCoaching.com. On Instagram, where I'm on a lot of social media, but I kind of don't check a lot of it except Instagram. It's Kristin R. Collins. You can find me there. And I have my own podcast. It has a swear word in it. I apologize. It was in a moment of internal frustration. It's
We
called
love it here.
Eat the fucking food, because women were asking me like, can I have a banana? Are carrots okay? Literally, these are little questions I was asked, and I got off the phone with someone. And I'm like, just eat the fucking food, like eat real food. Like, like we're worrying about the wrong things.
I love it.
Where Allison will be appearing. I'll get the date to you, but I think it's in a couple of weeks. Her episode comes up.
I love it.
I've been having so much fun. It's about the anti-diet of it all and how we can eat so we can start, thriving instead of merely surviving.
I love it. Amazing, Kristen. Well, listen, it was so nice catching up with you again and having this conversation. I am positive that our listeners are going to be inspired and reach out and find you. As always, friends, thank you so much for tuning in again and spending time on yourself by listening to this episode. If it resonated with you, please share it with someone that you love. And until next week, keep living simple and well.